Hello everyone, I am back with another video. This is uh, second video I made in a row. I'm on a record with that. So I haven't been very consistent, but like I said, I'm gonna try to make more videos more consistently. And so, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shavar. I talk about Christianity and giving a biblical worldview on everything in society, such as dating, God, relationships, uh, politics, anything that there is to talk about, we can talk about here from a Christian biblical perspective. So, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And so, let's get into this video. So I want to make this, I want this video to be about something that is really a problem in society today, and it has to do with dating and relationships. And what is the problem today in dating and in relationships? And why aren't people getting married and things like that? This is a big discussion, especially online. People are having a hard time out there in the dating world. I'm not out there in the dating world really. I'm just chilling right now, but I know people are having a hard time. And I want to talk about why that is and what's going on exactly, because people have their theories and things like that. But there are so many men out here who are struggling in dating. And a lot of men who struggle blame women for what's going on. And, the idea that women, their standards are too high. They expect too much, and, they want 6 feet, 6 figures, 6-pack abs. They want the 6'5" blue-eyed finance guy and all this stuff. And there are women who are looking for that, and a lot of men, they can't quite meet that standard, and they feel like women are being very unfair by demanding that. And I just want to say that I understand there are women out there like that, but I personally don't believe that that's the real issue. I know women say that they want those kind of guys, but you have to watch what they do, not what they say. A lot of women date men who are below 6 feet. A lot of women date men who don't have 6-pack abs. A lot of women date men who don't even have a lot of money. A lot of women date broke men. A lot of women prefer broke men a lot of times. Typically it's because they feel they can control them, but nonetheless, women date broke men. And a lot of times they might actually like the guy. And so this idea that you need to be 6 feet and have 6-pack abs and have a chiseled jawline, those things do help, but I don't feel that that's actually the reason why men are struggling. I don't think it really has to do with your looks. I don't think it really has to do with status. Those things are important, they help, but those aren't the main reason. And I want this video is about talking about why I think it is. And so if you're a guy listening to this video, and you're struggling out there in dating, just take this into account. And this is something that I'm still cultivating myself that I'm gonna mention. So I haven't reached it yet, but it's something that all men should strive for. Now, when we talk about the patriarchy, a lot of feminists, and I want to make a video about the idea that there's a red pill for women, and I'm not going to make this video about that, but there is a red pill for women. You know what the red pill is for men. Red pill ideology is just the idea that women are hypergamous and that they want to date someone better than them, and that in looks and status and things like that. And the red pill is sort of the idea that, as opposed to the blue pill, which blue pill men tend to believe, that if they just be nice and kind and be a gentleman, they'll get women. Where the red pill, red pill, blue pill, that's the whole Matrix story. Neo takes the red pill, the blue pill. He stays in his simulated reality. He doesn't come to see the truth. He takes the red pill and he sees the truth. He sees the Matrix, and he kind of breaks free from it, and he's free to fight against it, basically. And so there is a red pill for women. I want to talk about that in another video, but this video is going to be about how feminism gaslights us into believing that the patriarchy, not only that the patriarchy is like this inherently evil thing, which it isn't. A lot of feminists throw out the baby with the bathwater when they talk about how the patriarchy suppresses women, that the patriarchy is inherently evil. The patriarchy is not the problem. Okay, it's the ideas that it propagates that would be the issue. And the thing that a lot of feminists don't realize is that the patriarchy is not conditioning people or propagating misogynistic ideas or conservative ideas. It's mainly propagating and teaching feminist ideas. The patriarchy is highly in support of feminism. And the men who are at the top in our society are most of them are probably very liberal. I mean, there are some conservatives as well, but most of them are probably liberal, and they're very much in support of feminism. That's why everyone's being taught it, because in the system, because that's why men grow up, taught by their mothers, be a gentleman, and be nice to women and all this other stuff, and and we're fed all this bull crap, about what women want, and we're not told what they truly want. That's feminism. So the patriarchy is propagating and conditioning particularly men to be feminists, to be very, maybe not feminist, but to be very feminine, very passive, and very philogynistic. Now, if you don't know what philogyny is just the opposite of misogyny. Misogyny is the hatred for women. Philogyny is the love of women. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't love women, but there is a huge problem in that the patriarchy is conditioning men to be overly philogynistic. And what I mean by that is that it's teaching them to love women unconditionally. Yeah, I don't think we should love women unconditionally. I think that is bullcrap. That is the problem with men. The reason why so many men struggle in dating is because they are very philogynistic, they are feminine, and they are passive. And it is the patriarchy that is conditioning them to be that way. Because the patriarchy propagates feminist ideas and is conditioning men to be very philogynistic, passive, and feminine. Overly philogynistic, meaning that they love women unconditionally. Women don't have to earn their place. We just love them because by virtue of being women. Because they're women, we love them. It's like children and dogs, We love them unconditionally. There's no... We give them unearned validation, because they're women. Protection, provision, it's unearned. We just have to do these things for them because they're women. I call bull crap on that. Women don't deserve protection and provision just because they're women. Okay, women have to earn their place. Okay, and this idea that we should give women all this unearned validation is ruining society. It's ruining dating. Overly philogynistic and very feminine, passive men are very unattractive to women. Women don't like men like that. They don't actually like men sexually who are overly philogynistic, who are feminine, who are passive. Women want men who are masculine. Okay, that love women too, but they want men who are not going to love them unconditionally. They want men who are going to demand things from them. Okay, they want men who have standards for them, who are going to give them responsibilities, who are going to give them something to do. Women don't truly like men who just love them unconditionally. They don't respect men like that. But that is exactly what our society is conditioning men to be like, and it's very unattractive to women. Being feminine and passive is very unattractive. Women they're not turned on by men like that. And this is why women are so unattracted to men. It's not because the reason why it's hard for you to attract women, it's not because you don't have a chiseled jawline. It's not because you're not 6 feet. It's not because you don't have six-pack abs. It's not because you're not a millionaire or you don't make $100,000 a year. Those things help, okay? But you want to know what trumps all of that? Masculinity. And it's being a philogynous, but it's balancing that. It's being a man who demands that women earn their place in society and earn their place with them in a relationship, and you don't give them all this unearned free validation. That's why you can't attract women, because you're giving them all this free validation, and you're very feminine, you're very passive. You are not focusing on cultivating masculine traits within you, within yourself. You're not focusing on cultivating those things. Those things you can cultivate those without having money, without having six-pack abs and all that stuff. I'm not saying don't pursue those things, but I'm saying you can cultivate masculinity without those things. You can be masculine without those things. Masculinity is a personality. Okay? It's not a nice guy personality, but it shows itself in things like, dominance, stoicism, things like that. Men are too emotional nowadays. Men are not very intimidating nowadays. And it's hard it's not easy as a man to be that way. That has to be cultivated, and that takes time. But the problem is so many men aren't focusing on cultivating that. They're not focusing on cultivating masculine traits. And I want to make a video on, my opinion on what true masculinity is. But the issue is masculinity. There's a lack of masculinity. There are too many men who are obsessed with women, who are fearful of women, who idolize women. There are so many men out here so gay. They want to they obsess over women. Their lives will not be complete unless they marry one. They have to, it's like that's their purpose in life. I gotta marry a woman. I can't live without a woman. Like, what's the point of living if you don't marry a woman? These men are just, so many men are out here. They think that their life purpose is to, like, if they don't get married, their life is over. Your life purpose is to pursue God as a man. Without God, you cannot be a man. And without a man, a woman cannot be a woman. Women need men. Men don't need women. Men need God. Now, men should want women, yes. And they should love them, but not unconditionally. Men need to start demanding that women earn their place. Not just with them, but in society. If they want to be equal to men, they gotta earn that. And so the reason why you're not attractive to women is because you haven't cultivated that kind of mindset. You are too obsessed with women. You haven't focused on God. You haven't set your heart on God. Okay, look, and I'm not saying you got to go to church and read your Bible all day. That's not what I'm saying. There are ways you can cultivate a relationship with God without going to church. And even not even necessarily reading your Bible. But men cultivate masculinity by seeking God. That's the only way he can truly be a man. It's focusing on him. And then you'll attract women. Because you'll become truly masculine. That's the goal I'm seeking. That's what I'm striving for. I haven't gotten there yet, but that's what I'm striving for. And so, men, understand that's what you need to cultivate in yourself, is masculinity. And Christians are just they're so bad at teaching masculinity. I mean, they're always wrong about what it is. And I want to make a video on that too, of why Christians are wrong about masculinity, and that churches are like the largest and most productive beta factories out there. Men who go to church are so feminine and passive and philogynistic. That is the reason why so many men don't want to go to church, because a lot of men don't want to be that way. They don't want to be like that. They don't want to become these feminine, passive men who are controlled by their wives and all this other stuff. Men, that's not attractive to men. That's not that kind of life. Men don't want to live that life. Women don't like men like that either. That's why men don't go to church. It's not just because the music is corny and all this other stuff. It is that. But it's primarily, men know that the church is teaching them to be these weak, beta cuck males. So my brother, he doesn't go to church because of that. He just told me, I'm not going to church. All right, I'm not going to that gay fest. Okay, I'm not going there. All right, and I was like, okay, And that's how a lot of men view it. It's way too philogynistic. That is what's destroying society. It is not misogyny. It is the opposite. It is philogyny. Male philogyny is ruining dating. Because that is why so many women do not want so many of these men. It's not because of your height. It's not because how tall you are. It's not because... I feel like a lot of men just cope. They want to cope and be like, oh, women, they want to blame trauma. Well, women like bad boys because of trauma. Like they go after the bad guys because they have damage. And there's trauma and it's emotional damage and or there's something wrong with them and all that. That's just cope. You just coping. Okay, women go after bad boys because bad boys are masculine, and they don't go after you because you're not masculine. That is why. That's whenever a woman doesn't like you, it's for that reason. It's just for every man. That's almost always the reason. Deep at the core. Okay, masculinity is the key. And you can cultivate masculinity without all these symbols of masculinity, like money and status and big muscles and all that stuff. You should strive for that, but that's not. You don't need that to cultivate masculinity necessarily. Stop coping. Stop blaming trauma. Stop saying, "Oh, these women are damaged," or "These women have unrealistic standards." All this other stuff. Women break their standards all the time. For masculine men. All the time. They'll date a guy who's below 6 feet. They'll date a guy who's broke. They'll date a guy who doesn't have six-pack abs. Why? Because he's masculine. They do it all of the time. When you were in high school, don't you remember the guy? You knew probably a guy, guys probably in your life and in your past, excuse me, guys who weren't 6 feet, who weren't, that good looking and all, and they could get women. And they didn't have money and all that. Why? Because they were masculine. Maybe they were very athletic, or they were very masculine. They had sort of very aggressive maybe. They had these masculine traits that made them attractive to women. That is why. It's not damage. It's not trauma. Stop trying to cope. It's masculinity. That's what it is. Women are not as shallow as you think they are. And men aren't either. What women are missing is femininity. So it's not looks that men care about most. It's femininity. Although a lot of men are stupid and they will marry a woman for her looks and stuff. But deep down, that guy wants a feminine woman who's kind to him and things like that. That's what's missing in you as a man. And that's what's ruining dating. And if we just focused on cultivating that and focused on the Lord and seeking Him, we'll be able to cultivate more masculinity in ourselves. And so stop trying to cope. Stop trying to blame trauma. Stop trying to blame, oh, she didn't have a daddy in her house. She didn't have her parents. She didn't. Stop it. Okay, stop. Alright. So, think about that. And I want to make more videos. Trying to encourage more men to focus on that. More and more. So yeah, if you like this video, subscribe, hit the like button, share, all that good stuff. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.